Okay. Hello. This video is being made for my sister. She asked me to help with some guitar stuff, and so I'm gonna try and make these as short as possible, and pretty much just cover like one thing per video so I don't let them get too long. First problem is, what do you do if your fingers are too chunky or fat to press the frets and the strings without like bumping into other ones? So if I play on the G string here, you can hear the B is muted. Doesn't sound great. It's not most likely what you're wanting to play. And this happens in all kinds of situations. Sometimes it's like if your fingers are crowding together too much on a certain chord. I think the A major chord is kind of prone to this problem. But there's a couple different factors that might be making this harder. So one is, you want to make sure that your finger, start one finger at a time, and you probably want to practice this with each finger that you're going to use to fret. So that's all four, and if you're super cool, sometimes you might actually use your thumb. So get used to how it sounds when you press your finger down. Not all your fingers are necessarily going to sound the same. For example, the index finger here is pretty bony. I have a bony finger there, and so it sounds like relatively clean. It might be hard to hear exactly what I mean, but if you compare it to how the thumb sounds, some of the top end is rolled off. So there's not necessarily like a perfect sound. And if your fingers are hitting other strings, one of the things that most guitar players do if you're right-handed and you fret with your left hand, let's see if I can get this in the shot. So you notice there's like kind of an order in which I'm fretting the strings. From top to bottom, it's like the top one is all the way at the back, and the front one is at the bottom. So this is not only more comfortable, but it prevents some of the problems you might get if you tried to do it backwards, which is also really uncomfortable. You hear how it's a lot more muted? So like some chords are just going to be prone to it because of the way that your fingers have to reach the fretboard, unless you have some really special anatomy. So I think that pretty much covers it. Try moving your fingers back and forth. If you get right on the fret, you'll hear it's almost as muted. Sometimes it can sound kind of cool because this is actually the right note. So it's just like a muted version that the same way you might mute with your palm on the other side if you want it to sound kind of muddy and dark. Otherwise, pretty much you want as much hard surface contact as you can manage. But I wouldn't stress about this too much, because eventually you'll get used to playing the strings that make the chord sound, and sometimes the rest of them don't sound, and it just doesn't really matter. That should pretty much cover it. So I'll be back soon with another video on playing without a pick, which I wasn't playing with pick here, but I didn't tell you how.